All right. Well, I didn't turn it on. All right. We're actually going to try something out and see if it works. So if anyone is on Slack, if you can go into the Hello KC channel and click that YouTube link, we'll see what internet we break. My goal here is that I can share my screen with everyone using YouTube Live. Should be able to see this. The link is in Slack. Let me know if you can see it from that link. It works? Yes. Is it not showing the scrolling? Okay. But that's better than nothing. All right, we're going to go over the wagon wheel now. The only person that actually, oh, I have a second one sent now. I have 2 examples.
What channel on Slack are you using there?
It's the Hello KC channel. I don't actually know how to share that without Slack. And so if you go to Slack and you go, so in Slack, if you're there, you can click this channels, and then it will pop up, and you can search Hello KC, and then it will pop up. I can't scroll down on this, but you'll see a Hello KC. You can click on it, and then it will take you to the Hello KC channel. And I added, so this is also where anything that is specific to this class that is sort of administrative or like last minute or just trying to share with only our class, I've been posting it on here, which is why this likely where I have that wasn't obvious to everyone. Sorry. So someone recommended trying to use YouTube Live to share the screen. Try that out and see how well it works. So James sent this sample. If he wants to come up and go over, he can. If he doesn't, I can go over.
I will give you another microphone.
All right. There you go. I can scroll through it while you talk if you want.
Okay. So I just basically, first thing, I just did it piece by piece. I created a function that just draws a square. And that's the top one here.
Yeah, speak up a little. I can't hear you.
I just created a function that draws a square and tested that out to make sure I could just draw a square. And then I created another function below that that uses the draw square function to draw the 4 squares pattern. And it's a bit complicated. It's probably not the most efficient. And then finally, I do this draw square rotate, and that's the function I call from main to draw the pattern that it comes up with. And I just took 360 and divided it by let's see, 5. I just put 5 in there. That's what made it work. I don't know if that's the best way to do it or not. But yeah, but here's where I call it down here. And I also have a function that resets the turtle. It'll reset its heading to 0 degrees and reset its position to 0, 0. So I can just kind of start from the center point. And I also added a random color, so it draws each individual square a random color from a list. And so just to try to make it more interesting.
So we can see that.
If you
What?
go, there's a website that runs Turtle Collins.
What's the total slide?
It's trinket.io/Python.
Okay. So someone asked what this double slash is. What we had covered previously, this is integer division. So the way this works out for integer division here, so the way that works, I could say 8, integer division 3, I end up getting 2, opposed to print 8 divide 3, I'm going to get 2.6. The way that integer division works, we covered this in the first class, is it takes it and divides and then rounds down. And more than rounding down, it visually goes on the number line all the way to the left, whatever is further left. So another example, sort of make that more clear, is if I did -8 divide 3, with 5, or even 7.
Negative.
And it's negative. You end up with 3 because that number is further to the left. Because if you take 7 here, so regular division, what you end up with when you don't typo, this ends up as -2.33. But since you're on the number line, it's always going to whatever is closest, the closest integer to the left whenever you do integer division. So the closest integer to the left of -2.3 is -3 on a number line.
Can you give me an example where I want my negative is round left?
So the question was, can you give an example of where you would always want your number to go to the left like that? So if you had a negative, you always want it to go one more over. I don't have an example because I never actually use integer division in my code. I will either use the regular division here, or another option is you can import math, and you can do, there are functions in math. So one of them is floor, where you could do 7 divide 3, and you'll end up with 2, and even with the negative, it works out the same because it is just doing the integer division. Whereas what I will normally do is call math.round. And by call that, it's actually just built in so that it rounds it as you would expect. So if you're wanting a rounding, you should use the built-in round function. If you're wanting integer division, which you may, for sometimes if you want pseudo randomness, if you're going to have a lot of numbers that go between positive and negative, that's an example of where you might want this behavior where it goes to a different value than you might expect. And James actually had apparently a better website for running Turtle code.
Trinket.io/.
So trinket.io. You might just paste it in here. It's bigger. Get bigger by zooming in. So you can come here and you just click play. It goes and draws it to the right. I will actually share this in Slack again. And I can, so the 2 links that I had, the one for, well, actually the sharing of my screen, that doesn't really need to be shared, but I'll add this link to the class as well with my notes, this trinket.io/Python. And I'll cheat it out here. So it'll be there. And I'll actually cover this on Monday of next week. It's where we go over if control statements. And this random.choice is actually what we covered on Thursday. If you all recall, this is what allows it to get all of the nice random colors as you draw your wagon wheel squares. Do you have anything else you want to point out?
Sorry? I like to see how it's done without the if statements. That's just the first thing that popped in my head. So.
Oh yeah, and someone actually sent me an example. Thank you, James. So the other wagon wheel, Corwin. Oh, that's one cheated. This one has if statements too. All right. Choosing the one by Garrett because it has no if statements for the wagon wheel. The other one also had it. So, Garrett, I can go over it, or you can if you want to come up and go over it. Your choice. All right. So one of the reasons I chose this is out of the other options that people sent me is because it does not use, it only uses what we've covered in class so far.
Okay, so this, I kept it pretty simple and kind of the same scenario as the last piece of code where it just make a really basic function called draw square and use the for loop to draw the square. And then using another function draw window that's going to draw 4 squares and create that, that window shape. And then in the main piece of code at the bottom, you want to scroll down a little bit? So you want to define the window and then define the turtle. And then the last for loop, you know, we just basically drew that window 5 times. And one thing I found, I was just telling somebody a minute ago, if I'd have known we were going to be drawing all these shapes, I'd have went back and done some basic geometry. But Googling, I found that if you find the formula for finding the sum of an exterior angle, for example, basically it's all the exterior angles of the polygon of the shape are going to equal 360 degrees. So if you got a 20-sided shape, you divide 20 into 360, and then you get an 18-degree angle. So anyway, but that was a pretty, I had to go Google to find out, oh my goodness, what do I need to do to make this thing work? So, but that was about it.
No, that's good. That's what a lot of the times, day to day, if I need to solve a problem that I'm unfamiliar with, like figuring out the angle that you need to turn at given how large the circle is, that's exactly what I'll Google search. And then usually something comes up, often on Stack Overflow to help out. So here's where we get to see it go over 5 times. Each one of those 5 times that it goes over, draw window, goes and draws a square 4 times. So there will actually end up being with 20 squares here. All right, thank you, Garrett. So from a work standpoint, this is all we have for this class. I want to make sure everyone's on the same page about which assignments are due, when they're due, and what's due before each class, because I think there is some confusion still. For some people, so on this past Monday, we didn't have any class. Tuesday, so they moved the due date of chapter 3. You should have gotten an email from Zach. It's Sunday, site sort of messed up. So that assignment is already due. You can still turn it in if you haven't turned it in yet. You're encouraged to do so. So Sunday, there are 2 assignments due. This upcoming Sunday, chapter 4 and chapter 5. So you will turn in the chapter 5 assignment before we cover chapter 5 in class. And this is where it's going to get a little confusing on these numbers, is that these 1.4s and 1.5s, these are for the class number, not the chapter in the book. So that is confusing, but that is, they sort of lined up like that initially, but they're not going to keep doing that as we go forward. So chapter 4 and chapter 5 assignment are due on Sunday, and then by Monday, we will need to cover the prep, which is to read chapter 6. And then we'll go over chapter 6 in class next Monday. Feel free to stick around for another 10 or 20 minutes if you want to chat with people or work forward a little bit. And if anybody has any questions, I can sort of cover them.
Well, their exams will be posted online.
Which exams? Oh, the assignment? So you can see your grades after you turn them in.
So James' exam, solve back wheel and.
Oh, what they just did? Yes, I will post those, what we covered in class. I will post all of these. I'll actually do it now to GitHub so everyone can see them. Yes. All of these will be posted to my personal GitHub, but they will be linked from within each class they are covered in. So I mentioned that earlier in class. So if we go and look at class 2, I added a link here for covered in class at the bottom that then takes you to what we did last Thursday. All right, everybody have a good night. Feel free to ask any questions if you have any. Did someone want to mention a place they were planning on going and inviting other people to? I'm not allowed to mention it, but someone had said it on Slack. Feel free to mention it. It's a location close by.
I put it on Slack.
All right. It's in the Slack channel. I'm not allowed to.
Essentially, square. If you rotate 18, you should go 20 times. Well, I was doing that there. Someone else doing it. I agree, but it was that much. I did it like 10 of the last. I had a square function, a 4 square function, and I rotated 5 times. So reason that they use that. Solve something different.
Thank you.